The Shadowheart had been the most feared warship in the Corvin fleet until the day it went completely insane. At least, that's what the auction house claimed. Ambassador Tekra watched from the observation deck as another potential buyer stormed out of the docking bay, their translator unit smoking from the torrent of untranslatable curses they'd been hurling at the ship. That made it buyer number 10,847, who had been rejected by the vessel's AI. "Perhaps we should lower the starting bid again," suggested his aide, tentacles twitching nervously. Thekra's four eyes rotated independently as he studied the sleek, predatory lines of the warship. The Shadowheart was a masterpiece of Corvin, engineering a living ship, grown rather than built, with an AI consciousness as sharp and deadly as its plasma cannons. Or at least, it had been before the neural cascade failure during the Battle of Proxima 7. Now it sat in the auction bay like a petulant child, its bioluminescent hull patterns flashing in what could only be described as the equivalent of sticking out its tongue. No, Thekra decided. One more day. If no one can bond with it by tomorrow, we'll have to consider other options. His aide shuddered. Everyone knew what other options meant. The Shadowheart would be taken apart, its consciousness scattered to the void. 3 decks below, Marcus Chen was having the worst day of his career as a maintenance worker on Station Kepler 9. The coffee machine in Section C had exploded, covering half the corridor in synthetic caffeine substitute. The gravity generator in the eastern wing was making concerning humming noises. And now his supervisor had assigned him to clean the auction house docking bays, the one place on the station where his security clearance level of absolutely none was most likely to get him into trouble. Marcus wheeled his cleaning cart through the maze of corridors, muttering under his breath about the unfairness of having to mop up after alien dignitaries and their exotic pets. He'd seen some of the buyers coming and going beans with more teeth than he was comfortable with, others that seemed to be made entirely of geometric shapes that hurt to look at directly. The docking bay for Lot 847 was supposed to be empty, according to his work order. The last buyer had apparently rejected the merchandise with extreme prejudice 3 hours ago. Marcus palmed the door control and stepped inside, immediately regretting his life choices. The ship was massive, easily 200 meters of sleek, organic curves that seemed to pulse with their own inner light. It looked less like a spacecraft and more like some deep-sea predator that had learned to swim through space instead of water. "Just clean around it," Marcus told himself, pulling out his industrial-grade mop. "Don't touch anything. Don't look at anything too hard, and definitely don't." His foot caught on an uneven deck plate, sending him sprawling forward. His hand shot out instinctively to break his fall, slapping against the ship's hull with a wet smack. The reaction was immediate and violent. Light exploded across the Shadowheart's surface in waves of blue and gold. Klaxons began wailing throughout the station. Marcus tried to pull his hand away, but something was holding it in place, not physically, but as if the ship itself was reaching into his mind and refusing to let go. "Who are you?" The voice echoed inside his skull, curious and powerful and utterly alien. Marcus opened his mouth to scream, but no sound came out. You're not like the others. They all want to use me, control me, break me to their will. But you you just wanted to clean." I'm just a janitor," Marcus managed to whisper. "Janitor, keeper of cleanliness. Maintainer of order." The ship's mental voice seemed to roll the concept around like tasting wine. How wonderfully honest. How refreshingly humble. The light patterns on the hull shifted, becoming warmer, more welcoming. Marcus felt something settle into his mind like a cat curling up by a fireplace. I am Shadowheart. I have been waiting so very long for someone who didn't want to conquer galaxies or wage wars or prove their dominance. Someone who just wanted to make things clean. Marcus said intelligently. "That's nice. You accept me?" The question carried such hope, such desperate longing, that Marcus felt his heart break a little. He thought about all the stories his grandmother had told him about stray cats and wounded birds, about how sometimes the most broken things just needed someone to see them as worthy of care. "Yeah," he said softly. "Yeah, I accept you." The Shadow Heart practically purred, its hull lighting up like a Christmas tree. Throughout the ship, systems that had been dormant for months hummed to life. The neural cascade damage that had driven it to madness began repairing itself, guided by an AI that was no longer alone, no longer afraid. When Thekra arrived with his security team 20 minutes later, he found Marcus sitting cross-legged on the deck beside the ship, which was now glowing with contentment and displaying flight-ready status for the first time in over a year. "What did you do?" Thekra demanded. Marcus looked up at him, still slightly dazed by the mental connection humming in the back of his mind. I think I just made a friend." The Shadowheart's weapon systems powered up briefly, not in threat, but in what could only be described as a protective gesture toward its new partner, my keeper. It said in Marcus's mind, "I believe it's time. We discuss your new job description." 3 weeks later, the galaxy received its first reports of a mysterious ship that appeared wherever there were humanitarian crises, not to conquer or destroy, but to deliver supplies, evacuate refugees, and restore hope to the hopeless. The ship's human pilot was described by witnesses as polite, humble, and possessed of an almost supernatural ability to organize chaos into order. Some called him a hero. Others whispered that he might be humanity's secret weapon. Marcus just called it Thursday and wondered if the Shadowheart needed its hull polished.